Hello, everyone. I'm not going to give much of an introduction, mostly because it's just going to be a bit of a flow of consciousness. I'm not looking at the screen, but I'm sure that I can see plenty of you groan and moan right now. I gave some buzzwords in the Excel sheet, so you should be prepared for that. Having said that, I think that I should dive right in and see you on the other side. Okay, so I'll be starting now. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all well, be it from your homes here in the Zoom environment, or if you're following us from the YouTube live stream. Now, some of you might wonder why I decided to speak about this topic, learning how to say no. After all, this title resembles one of a book that you might find in a bookstore at the airport. You might be browsing in the aisle and see the self-help section with books such as How to Achieve Success in 3.7 Steps or Learn a Language in Under 2 Minutes. Now, let me reassure you, this is not a self-help talk. It's mainly the idea behind this is to look a bit at what has been going on in our lives over the last few weeks. I'm talking specifically of the wealth of online offers that we now have. Webinars where we can do and learn new stuff, where we can talk to new people and learn something that we did not know of up until a couple of weeks ago. All these webinars and workshops tell us that they will make our life more complete. It will be richer and better, and we should refer to them until life goes back to normal. And that is why we rush forward. We want to say yes to absolutely everything. And it sees us signing up to a 10-minute mindfulness class first thing in the morning, or maybe a yoga session at night, or participating in a live cooking session on YouTube. And there are even some people who have decided to pick up exercise, although they've never exercised one day in their life. As you can see, even though we are at home and confined, we are spoiled for choice. The question, therefore, is how do we make a decision about what to choose? And you see, therein lies the problem. Is saying yes to absolutely everything more enriching for our lives? Would it make us happier? And what about the impact on our health? Are we simply doing things just for the sake of doing them and are therefore saying no to our own needs and priorities? Well, maybe. To be honest, there is no real answer to this question. But it is on days like these that I wish I could be more like Jonas. You might wonder who Jonas is. He is not a character from the book of Revelations, despite his name. Actually, the name is a fictional one. I know a Jonas, and I bet that everyone has a Jonas in their life. What does this Jonas do? Simply put, he is someone who manages to say no. As easy as that. If someone asks him to go out and he doesn't want to, he'll flat out refuse. If someone asks him to participate in a workshop or in a mindfulness session, he will just shoot them down because he doesn't believe that it will bring anything to his life. Now, this might not seem as important to you as it does to me, but for someone who says yes so easily and willingly, Jonas looks like a superhero, and his superpower is being able to say no. I've been struggling for quite some time to emulate Jonas, be more like him, and learn how to say no. Unfortunately, the internet isn't helpful at all. All advice points to wishy-washy statements such as learn how to set boundaries, or be polite but firm in your rejection, or decide to rain check with your frame. And my top choice is listen to your inner voice. Now, that is easier said than done. So rather than focusing on how to say no, maybe it would be more interesting to see why we say yes so much in the first place. This is where we can refer to experts, namely behavioral psychologists, and they say that it all stems from our childhood. Well, no surprises there. After all, we all have our own share of childhood traumas, and all of our behavior, foibles, and tics that we have right now are acquired as we grow up. So how do we learn how to say yes? Well, it all starts at home. We are taught that by saying yes to people who are more experienced than we are, who are our seniors, we are showing that we are well mannered. Therefore, it is something that we should do. Besides that, we are told that yes is the only answer you have when you live at home, because that way you're showing respect to someone who has provided a roof over your head, who has put food on your plate, and at the end of the day, because mother knows best. Thank you very much. On top of that, people say that the trend continues even outside of our homes. Indeed, when we are at school, we learn to say yes to our teachers. When we practice a new sport or we train for a competition, we listen to our trainers because they know best. When we learn how to play a musical instrument, the same applies. In other words, we have at least 18 years of practicing how to say yes. We say yes, therefore, because we are given attention. There are specific people that focus on us. However, it is also true that we can also decide to say yes because we crave for attention. Maybe we come from a broken home, or our parents work too much, and so they're not there to instill that life lesson into us. We try to find attention among our peers, and therefore try to go with the flow and say yes to whatever they want or do, regardless if we want it. As you can see, saying yes seems to be ingrained in our being. It is second nature. Now, I wouldn't say that it is as extreme as having a Pavlovian reaction. I hope that none of your parents stood behind the door as you were growing up and rang a small bell whenever you did something that pleased them. That would be a bit odd, to say the least. But you can understand why saying no for some people is not as easy as for others. And for those of you who think that it all gets better as soon as you leave your home and go to university or find a job, well, think again, because the yes culture continues even after we leave school. After all, our society thrives on yes. Just think about the internet and our apps. Instant gratification. Everything is at your fingertips or just a click away. As you can see, saying no is really hard because saying yes has become incredibly easy. The internet has also fostered an environment where we are overloaded with stimuli, and they overload our brains, therefore pushing us to react without thinking things through. We tend to react to these stimuli, obviously, because they affect our limbic system. Or rather, our limbic system is the one that manages this onslaught of stimuli. Having a limbic system is not a bad thing. It's actually part and parcel of being a human being and belonging to the animal kingdom. The limbic system is the one which regulates all of our base instincts, our primal urges, such as food, sex, engaging or reacting when we are faced with imminent danger. Once again, what we have seen here is that saying yes and responding to stimuli is not only nature, but it is also nurture. We are conditioned to a certain extent to always seek for approval at home, and our environment also always pushes us to say yes. How can we say no in this type of environment then? Well, you'll be happy to know that our body has also given us the perfect weapon to fight against this. I'm speaking of the prefrontal cortex. This part of our brain is the one that helps us from not rushing into things, in making the right choice when we are confronted with a specific stimulus. As you can see, it looks like saying no truly is harder than it seems. And that's why we should try and use our prefrontal cortex a lot more by taking a step back, understanding these impulses, and then making a cool, calm, collected decision. In the end, as I said, there might not be any true answer to how do people learn how to say no. If not, that practice makes perfect. I would conclude by saying that maybe you should sign up to a webinar to learn how to say no to more things. But something like this might defeat the purpose of the exercise in the first place, would it not? It might, but I find it more useful than listening to your inner voice, an inner voice which might push you to say yes anyway. Thank you.